And our final student presentation today is Tess Gauthier. Tess came to Scripps and I think most of all enjoyed her time with her cohort and in the field and with mentors that she met along the way, becoming certified in boating, becoming certified in scientific diving, spending time in the tide pools. And it's only fitting that this final student presentation of the day would continue to reinforce this idea that when we're talking about marine biodiversity and conservation, we're really talking about people, right? We're not talking about controlling animals, right? Animals live and don't respect state borders or national borders, and we're really talking about managing people and the connection between communities and ecosystems and communities in the marine environment. And so it's only right that this through line for really the whole day would continue with Tess's presentation, which is really about people and the marine environment. So please join me in welcoming heartily Tess.
In a perfect world, everyone who came here would have knowledge that this place is fragile and that their actions make an impact.
Malama Pupukea Waimea is an organization that was formed in 2005 as a nonprofit dedicated to protecting this place and the Ahapua of Pupukea and Waimea. In particular, our focus has been on the Marine Life Conservation District, because that's where kind of everything comes together from Malka to Makai.
As our name says, we malama this place, and that's a really important Hawaiian value, or Vaivai Hawaii is malama, this idea that it's our responsibility to take care of these places, and we have to actively do that.
We're devoted to education, partnerships, protecting the culture and local knowledge of this place, and making sure it thrives into the future for future generations. The reason we started it was to protect this very special place, and particularly against development threats, poaching, pollution, and now mainly over-tourism. We have a marine team that's been in the water for years, a wonderful group of young and senior marine scientists who are in the waters doing surveys, fish, benthic, water quality, coral, and they're providing us the data we need to understand what's going on with the marine life. We placed 8 transects in the tide pools and 8 in the cove. So it's a combination of areas where there's great marine life and where we know there's a lot of traffic. So our interest is, at what point we have so many people that the marine life is damaged, and we're seeing that.
People love this place, so it, in a sense, gets loved to death, and it gets trampled. And so while people are important to the place, people are also kind of the detriment of it as well.
Yes, it has changed, and it has changed because most places that are special experience this kind of change.
When I started diving here 50 years ago, this place was loaded with lobster, loaded with all kinds of stuff. That's absolutely not here anymore. So I've experienced the loss, a lot of loss, not just here, but all up and down the coast. And okay, so nothing stays the same, but that's also a statement, can be flipped to be an optimistic statement. That means that we can make things better.
And if you come down here and if you don't see the things you see, you don't see that, the interaction with the papio and the eel, or you don't see the joy in someone seeing a fish for the first time, or any of it, or the honu eating the limu. If those things are not here, and we didn't do our job to protect this place, then we failed. Like, we failed our community. And so I think by doing the work we do, it's like a cry out to our community to bring them here, to bring us all together.
It's a really special area to a lot of the people that grew up in the area. It's a really important place for people who even grew up on island that might not have grew up in the community, that really treasure this place as some place that they can rely on to see the fish that they might see in the aquarium, or see the fish that perhaps their kupuna once fished for that might not be as abundant elsewhere. I think it's one place for folks and local residents, visitors alike, to just understand and appreciate what this area can provide and what other areas around the island can provide if taken care of just like Pupukea.
So we know that humans in the water have a big impact on marine life, and we know that taking humans out of the water will help marine life. We just have to find the right balance between human enjoyment, because we want people to enjoy the area, and the marine life's really the right to thrive.
You know, the interesting thing too is this tide pool here wasn't here. This was created in the 30s. So this tide pool had some sand in it, you know, but they blew all this coral out to make Military Road, Drum Road, 3 or 4 miles back up in the hills. So now it's a nursery. So, I mean, things changed.
We all come for different reasons. There's no one right special reason why we all use this place. And when you look around, there's so many people from different places. You hear different languages, you see different cultures just are represented here in the use, and they all are here because this is a special place. We have this like human sense to like share everything, and you want to share stories, you want to share places, and I think if we don't protect this place, there's nothing to share. It's not an MLCD because we want to restrict use, because I think in the bigger picture, this is a place that brings us all together.
So as Jackie said, Kapo'o is a place that connects people. My connection to the North Shore began 18 years ago on a family vacation. Before then, I had never been on a plane, so my excitement started before we landed, but also before we boarded. Flash forward almost 2 decades later to this past April. I landed in Honolulu and began making my way to the North Shore. I found myself completely overwhelmed by the beauty around me: rich green mountains, giant bright white clouds above, and a shining blue ocean rising from the horizon. My new excitement was met with memories of the past flashing before me, things I had thought that were long forgotten. As I passed Waimea, I instantly recognized it as the place where I first snorkeled and swam with fish for the first time. I had an understanding that my project would reunite me with my passions for people, the ocean, and people that love the ocean, but I didn't realize till then that it would take me back to where it all started. For my project, I helped produce orthomosaics of sensitive areas within Kapo'o's tide pools and cove. An orthomosaic is a large area image created by stitching together a series of pictures with overlapping points. On the left is a group of divers in the field imaging a reef, and on the right we can see how their images stitch together. In addition to orthomosaics providing a cohesive visualization of an environment, they also can be further processed through an ecological lens. And when you have a series of orthomosaics data, you can account for change over time, and you can better inform conservation measures. Malama Pupukea Waimea was seeking orthomosaics as a new type of data set. They plan to image the reef again after this summer to see if there are any observable differences and loss of marine life from unregulated tourism. Many tourists don't recognize Kapo'o's reefs as reefs. Often mistaken for rocks, they get constantly stepped on and trampled, harming not only the reef, but all the marine life that depends on it. And this just isn't marine life that you can see with your eye. It's also marine life that you might miss if you're speeding by. I was graciously hosted by Jackie and Denise for my 2 weeks that I was on Oahu. When I was with Jackie, I stayed in her beautiful pottery studio that used to be a preschool that she ran for kids in the local area. It was called Nursery Garden. So that meant that during the day, I would snorkel in the nursery down at Kapo'o, and I would rest at the nursery garden up the hill. And if you're lucky, you fall asleep at night in Pupukea to gentle rain, and you're awoken by eager roosters. On my first morning in Pupukea, Jackie and I met up with Jenny and Keelan down in Kapo'o, where they introduced me to the area and shared its history and cultural importance. I remember remarking to Keelan in almost disbelief at how perfectly the water within the tide pools below reflected the skies above. We scheduled to image the reef during the first weekend I was there. And when I say we, I mean myself and my capstone chair, Bert Weeks, another MBC alum, now a marine biologist at Stantec, who got me involved in this project in the first place and has been a wonderful leader all throughout. He trained me in underwater imaging and taught me a lot about how to work towards achieving science that makes a real impact and honors communities that we have the privilege of partnering with. That weekend, Malama Pupukea's marine science team was training their new members, so we had a lot of help navigating the study areas, as well as good lunch company. Trying to image a shallow, dynamic, and heavily trafficked environment like Kapo'o has its challenges, but eventually I learned to move with the currents, to know the grooves of Kapo'o's reef, and to politely communicate to well-intending, curious members of the public to please put those sticks down, we need them for science. And when I say sticks, I mean our scale bars, which you can see in the top picture. Overall, it was a lovely weekend filled with people who love fish a lot, and really just a lot of fish. And when I say a lot of fish, I mean a lot of fish. And this was taken by Bert Weeks, by the way. We were able to image and create orthomosaics for 12 out of the 16 established marine monitoring transects. The remaining 4 transects we were unable to image due to conditions such as the regions being too shallow or in the line of crashing waves. And then in the field, tide pool transect 8 moved, so that's why there's a little arrow showing that. And so these are the 12 orthomosaics that were generously processed by Nicole Peterson, staff researcher for the Sandin Lab here at Scripps. So big shout out to Nicole, and thank you for all your help. And here is a close-up of one of the orthomosaics, Cove Transect 4, and you can see some neat cauliflower coral. That weekend of fieldwork was not the only snorkeling we did. I would go with Jackie and her husband Josh in the early morning and evenings when there were less people and more fish, which is the preferred ratio. I also hiked Waimea Valley in the pouring rain, trying to get to the bottom of what made those mountains so green, and I think I figured it out. Overall, I spent a lot of time just being with community. We talked a lot about change, about what's happening, if the world was coming to an end after all. I remember saying that I know things will be okay because this community existed, and that their tie to the land and to each other isn't something that can be easily changed. As I thought more about my project and realized and what I had thought about the first day, about the seamless connectivity between the people and the land, I thought that perhaps my project wasn't over. Because if I was meant to image Kapo'o, that meant that I needed to image its people as well. I would like to thank the Malama Pupukea Waimea community and the North Shore who welcomed me with open arms and open hearts. In imaging Kapo'o's reef through orthomosaics, we can better understand what we are protecting, and in documenting and learning from Kapo'o's community above, we can know why. In particular, I just want to highlight that I felt completely welcomed by the community who shared with me their special places, took me swimming, invited me to their dinner table when they realized I really couldn't cook, and taught me about the values of aloha, kilo, and malama aina. And they also taught me that big change can happen when people stand up and come together. And then I would like to thank my stellar capstone committee. In addition to all of them being just so brilliant, they're also like the coolest people I know. And so it was a great honor and privilege to get to receive their guidance throughout this project. And lastly, I want to thank the Scripps community. Before this program, I was feeling a bit incomplete, and I can't thank you all enough for stitching me together. And thank you to my friends and family who got me here in the first place. I couldn't be here without you. I'm not exactly sure of what's to come, but I know now more than ever that community can move tides, and that taking care of our reefs, our oceans, and each other is one and the same. From the reefs of Kapo'o to our own tide pools here at Scripps, and throughout all the seas, despite it all, life is finding a way to rise, and so can we. Thank you. And I'm glad my dad's sitting in the back, so we can't ask a question.
Hey, Tess. Quick question. Did all those fish get in the way of you doing the photography and mosaicing?
No, it was mainly people getting in the way. Although I think I found one image that might have like a snapshot of it, so maybe a fish was very sleepy and wasn't moving a lot, because you need to be able to see matching points on multiple photos to like end up in the final piece. So that's something I kind of want to look into.
Hi, Tess. Great presentation. I love seeing everything that you've done. Kind of going full circle, if you remember back to Evan's presentation, where she put up the data collection, but then like threw up everything else around that. I feel like your project, we got to see a lot of your data collection because it was so awesome, but I was wondering if there was any other of those circles that you really had like a big takeaway from, or that really impacted you either before or after the data collection.
Organizing and processing and like waiting for my Google Drive to upload the thousands of images that we took. I didn't love it, and I didn't think it was that glamorous, so that's why I didn't make the presentation. But if you are going into this line of work, I suggest you get a laptop with more than 8 RAM, or else things will go a bit slow this semester, you know? But, yeah. Okay.